Mr. Mamdani was on Fox News, and as I said, got very good reviews. Here he is. We'll play a couple sound bites from the interview with Martha McCallum. Here he is. He got a lot of questions about federal policy and how he deal with Donald Trump. And one thing people thought was effective, he looked right at the camera and talked to Donald Trump rather than to Martha. This is number 20, please.
I want to take this moment because you spoke about President Trump, and he may be watching right now. And I just want to speak directly to the president, which is that I will not be a mayor like Mayor Adams, who will call you to figure out how to stay out of jail. I won't be a disgraced governor like Andrew Cuomo, who will call you to ask how to win this election. I can do those things on my own. I will, however, be a mayor who's ready to speak at any time to lower the cost of living. That's the way that I'm going to lead this city. That's the partnership I want to build, not only with Washington, D.C., but anyone across this country. I think it's important because too often the focus on the needs of working class Americans, working class New Yorkers are put to the side as we talk more and more about the very kinds of corrupt politicians like Andrew Cuomo that delivered us into this kind of crisis.
There's so much genius embedded in there, which you two will address in a moment. But let's play the second soundbite. This is him talking about his past criticism of police officers. Number 21, please.
Police officers that I spoke to, they don't want a behind closed doors apology. They want a broad public apology for the things that you suggested about them. Will you do that right now?
Absolutely. I'll apologize to police officers right here because this is the apology that I've been sharing with many rank and file officers. And I apologize because of the fact that I'm looking to work with these officers. And I know that these officers, these men and women who serve in the NYPD, they put their lives on the line every single day. And I will be a mayor that
What changed your mind about it?
You know, I moved to the city when I was 7 years old. Yeah. I grew up here. And two of the things that I thought often about was safety and justice. And growing up here, learning about the case of the exonerated five, learning about Sean Bell, learning about Eric Garner, learning about Michael Brown. And then in 2020, the year where all of these tweets are referring to, it was the year when George Floyd was killed. And it felt like safety and justice had never been further apart. And it was actually Eric Adams in 2021 who said that New Yorkers need not choose between these two things. And so one of my focuses was, how do we deliver that justice? And now what I know, having represented 100,000 people in Western Queens, is that to deliver that justice, you have to also deliver that safety. And that means representing the men and women in the NYPD. It means representing the black and brown New Yorkers who've been victims of police brutality. It means representing the Muslim New Yorkers in my district who were surveilled on the basis of their faith.
68% of...
All right, just as political communication, it just blows my mind how good he is. Matt, in 2004, John Kerry became the Democratic nominee, and Bill Clinton really wanted to help him. So he did a bunch of events for him. And on two occasions, I stood next to John Kerry. He was the nominee, and Bill Clinton was speaking at his events. And Kerry was studying him. Kerry was studying him, thinking like, well, I should be able to just study this guy and do what he does. And I feel this way about Mamdani. All these people are saying, oh, yeah, people should do what he do. But just talk about what's embedded in those two clips and why it's so hard to get your clients to be that good.
I mean, there's an authenticity to it. I have questions about whether or not he's going to follow through, but I don't doubt that he means what he says. You know, and I do think that, like, I don't know how long he spent sort of workshopping that answer on the police and balancing the importance of justice and safety, but it was very smart because he is right now on a tour to try and address concerns about him. And he knows there are a lot of concerns about him. I also think he sees a lot of polling that shows that, you know, he's not in particular danger. And I think a lot of people, you know, on my side would find that unfortunate, but I do think that he is an incredibly effective communicator. He sort of thinks from point A to point B, what is the thing people need to hear to feel a little bit better about me? And he tries to do it. And I thought that that was a lot of what was effective today, but he also very much wanted to pound the affordability message. And I think the thing that has gotten the most social media attention, you know, particularly among conservatives, was the "will you condemn Hamas?" And in that, he kept going back to, I'm focused on affordability, which led to a lot of people saying, why can't he condemn Hamas? Which again, like, I think, you know, a lot of Democrats would say the mayor of New York is not necessarily involved in the Israel-Hamas negotiations, but for someone that has that much tape of talking about, you know, globalize the intifada and, you know, wanting to arrest Bibi Netanyahu, things like that, I think it's fair for the large Jewish population or the, you know, pro-Israel population of New York to have those questions. So I think that he navigated a lot of difficult topics to try and address concerns people have about him. I think there's a large group that will not feel better, but I don't think it's enough to make a really big difference on election day for him.
Yeah. Ashley, what's the logic in your mind of doing an interview like that the day before the debate?
I mean, it's super smart. I mean, not only are you challenging yourself and sharpening your knives going into the debate, but also, it's also, a good confidence boost going into the
Yeah.
debate as well. I mean, he performed so exceptionally well. I will say, I mean, to build on what Matt said, I think what's so key about him is not just his authenticity, but that he actually lives the lives and experiences the challenges that most people experience. I think when you come to Washington, you lose a little perspective, you lose a little distance with the people who you represent. You don't, always identify with their challenges, their plight, all of those different things, but he's actually living it. So it's not a talking point for him. It's actually his lived experience.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what people are identifying with. And he also doesn't come across to me as, hyper poll tested. Every word is not poll tested. It's not some trite policy prescriptions. I mean, all of it feels very fresh and new and relatable and related to his own lived experience and that of the people who he wants to represent. So I think that is really his charm offensive. And I
Yeah.
will say, the same, we saw the same fear that people have about him, they had about AOC when she came onto the scene, because she was just, sort of undermining all this sort of the status quo within the Democratic Party. And people get very afraid of that. And so that's what we're seeing right now. The fact that Schumer hasn't endorsed him and Jeffries hasn't endorsed him, there's something there, but it's not him who's losing. It's those two members that are actually losing because of their inability to endorse him.
Yeah, also brilliant. And you said sharpen the knives. The other thing I'll add is he's kind of clearing the decks of some of the tougher questions. Right? He got to practice, and then tomorrow when they ask him about apologizing to cops or how you deal with Trump, like he's already practiced it, and he can even refer back to it. All right, let's Polymarket where the betting market folks on Polymarket see the race now 22. Let's see what happens tomorrow night. I still think if he has a bad debate, although if he performs like that, it doesn't matter what they ask him. Excuse me. 22. So bettors on Polymarket asked who's going to win. And obviously, spoiler alert, Mamdani. But you can see it's been very stable for the last week, right around 87%, Cuomo 10%. I'm not sure the Sliwa thing, why that's even on there, but 10% for Cuomo, which let's see what happens after the debate. But Ashley, if you were doing debate prep for Andrew and you had that last clutch with him right before he walked on stage and you say 1, 2, or 3 pieces of advice, what would they be?
I probably wouldn't say anything. The worst time to give advice is when they're walking on stage. I mean, I think his arrogance continues to get the best of him.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you untrain that, because I think he's got an element of entitledness. I think he's, feels like, he's been slighted by the Democratic establishment. I mean, he's just got a huge chip on his shoulder and he can't hide it, So my advice would be to, as best as you can, try to hide it. But I don't think that he can, because it's who he actually is at this point. And it's obvious and, it's palpable. And I think it's unattractive to voters.
Yeah. Tonight's show sponsored by our friends at Cozy Earth. Right now, you can get 20% off on Cozy Earth. Go to cozyearth.com. Use the promo code 2way. The bamboo sheets are excellent. I recommend them to you. I wore them, or I used them all summer. And now in the falls, it's getting a little cooler. They're still extra comfortable. They're temperature regulating. They're like the thermos. They keep the hot stuff hot and the cool stuff cool. They keep you hot or cool, depending on what you need. We're also recommending, as you know, the Bubble Cuddle Blanket, which is a combination, as my friends at Cozy Earth say, of comfort and style. They couldn't be more correct about that with the intricately woven fibers. Do yourself a favor, get one of those. And then, of course, you've heard me tell you before how good the pants are. Yet again today, heard from somebody who's bought the pants and said, Mark, thank you for that recommendation. Go to cozyearth.com. Use the code 2way for 20% off the best pants, joggers, shirts, everything, including the bedding, because home isn't just where you live, it's how you feel. Let's go home with Cozy Earth. They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the 2way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America. And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and 2way tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.